Hello one and all to video 0 of Shogun 2. Most of the bollocks that I talk about is going to be in video 1. This is more or less just going to be the introductions that the game provides for the factions. I have chosen Saga, and Martin has chosen Satsuma, so I will read these little dialogue boxes over here and talk about the bonuses, and then I will play the video. The video is based on the allegiance that you pick at the start, so we both have the same video, but we have a slightly different bit where the AI talks about what's going on, so I'll play both of those as well. Either way, Saga here, which is me, are traders. So the Nabeshima lately of Saga domain were sensible enough to join Tokugawa Ieyasu while there was still doubt over the result of the Battle of Jesus Christ, I can't read any of this. Sekigahara. I hope my headphones aren't bleeding through the mic as well, by the way. Their domain includes the port of Nagasaki, where Japan has its only official trade with the West. Perhaps this knowledge of the outside world and its dangers has convinced the Nabeshima to throw their weight behind the Imperial court, ? The Nabeshima have Western connections. I believe it's Nabeshima. I could be mistaken. Have Western connections and trade that is far ahead of any other domain, making them artillery experts with good shipbuilding and industrial facilities. They have gunnery, so +5 accuracy to all artillery. Engineering, so reduced cost of ships. Industry, so, industry. It's kind of self-explanatory. And Rengaku, something like that. Trade with Western powers has been established. This is the only faction or clan that actually begins the game with trade with the Western powers. And in fact, I think it's the only faction in the game that actually trades with all three of them. You trade with France, Britain, and the US from the very start of the game. I believe all the other factions can only pick one trade partner because it's based on the trade port that you get, and you can only have one trade port, or one faction-specific trade port anyway. However, the Satsuma have an easy initial challenge for a reason. The Shimazu of Satsuma domain are an old clan, indeed, he played it in the original, and can claim the Minamoto shoguns of old as blood relatives. And interestingly enough, he actually was shogun in the original. They have long received tribute from the Rikyu kingdom, that's this island down here, and traded with China, making them more independent and open to foreign ideas than many others in Japan. Their loyalties, for the most part, lie with the Emperor. Satsuma has 2 provinces at the start of the campaign and is rich with an effective and efficient administration. They also have an advantage when it comes to recruiting foreign veterans. So their bonuses are basically domain reduction, or domain cost reduction and stuff like that. But they have a 5% reduction in administration costs, which is just the overhead, which is good for everything. And -10 to foreign veteran actions. I barely, if ever, use foreign veterans, so that's more or less useless for me. Dominion, they start with 2 provinces. Again, pretty sure the only one that starts with 2. And leadership, so they have a greater general radius of influence, so that's actually really good in battles. It's actually really quite good. I'm gonna go ahead and start with mine, because why not? We both have the same introductory video, because we're both Imperial. So I'm only going to show the one that shows of mine. It's the same. I don't think there's a single thing in it that's changed. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'll find out I'm mistaken in this video. I'm not entirely sure. And then I'll show the AI talking about, or the narrator person, lady, talking about what's going on. So off we go to cutscene land. Who doesn't like cutscene land? Except for people who don't like cutscenes. Which is probably quite a few people. Either way. Cutscene.
After the Sengoku Jidai, peace reigned for 200 years. In Kyoto, the emperor continued as divine head of state. But real power was held by the Tokugawa Shogunate. For 2 centuries, they ruled with absolute authority. Japan prospered. The people were content. In 1853, American warships changed everything. The Shogun abandoned his people and signed the Treaty of Peace and Amity. The gates to Japan were open. Trade was established, but the agreements favored the Western powers. The economy faltered, and the people suffered. In 1863, the emperor overruled the shogun. An imperial decree ordered the expulsion of all Western powers. No longer would Japan be westernized. The time had come to strike back. The Western powers gave their answer.
Prepare to run out the guns. On my command, fire!
The treacherous Westerners brought death to our people. The shogun no longer commanded respect or loyalty. Imperial rule had to be restored. To strengthen our position, the emperor made peace with the British. We will study their ways and discover their secrets. Only then can we destroy the shogun and return honor to Japan. The emperor must be victorious. Saga domain. Our clan, the Nabeshima, have long served as guardians of Nagasaki, Japan's only point of contact with Westerners during its seclusion. As such, we have come to understand much of Western technology and way of life. We will use this understanding to depose the shogun and reinstate the emperor for the good of Japan. Our first priority should be to establish ties with other imperial loyalists on Kyushu, whilst crushing those who still support the shogunate. It is imperative that we then establish a navy, allowing us to support our allies on the mainland in their fight against the shogunate. Kyoto and Edo must be brought under imperial control. When full-scale war finally erupts between imperial and shogunate forces, the people of Saga will be at the vanguard, leading Japan into a bright and glorious future. Long live the emperor! Satsuma domain. Our family, the Shimizu, has ruled these lands since the time of the first Minamoto shogun, ever loyal to Japan and her people. But the Tokugawa and their lackeys have failed us, allowing themselves to be manipulated by Western powers. For the good of all, power must be returned to the emperor. Our first priority should be to ally with domains who share our beliefs, There is little support for the shogunate here in Kyushu, but opposition is inevitable, and resistance must be met with force. Once the situation on Kyushu is under control, we must support our allies on the mainland. Imperial control of Kyoto and Edo will be vital if we are to break the shogun's wicked grip on the land. When full-scale war finally erupts between Imperial and Shogunate forces, the people of Satsuma will be at the vanguard, leading Japan into a bright and glorious future. Long live the Emperor!